Hey all, and welcome back to Fuzzy Dirty Gaming, and a new video on the channel going over my transition to a tornado shot from Reign of Arrows Raider. What I thought I'd do before I get into the video is just go through some content on my channel that I'm going to refer to that's going to help you out. I was going to build a new guide for tornado shot, but I actually did loads of stuff on tornado shot last league and it's all still relevant. You don't need to watch all of it, it's just in case you wanted some extra watching or some extra info about the skill or builds. There's a playlist on my channel where I do tornado shot from scratch in SSF and get the Atlas clear in under 24 hours. If you're playing in trade, it's probably not that much of interest, but if you're looking to do SSF bows, it might be something that can help. Also, I have this playlist here, which I think is very, very helpful for bows. I'll go in here and have a look at the playlist. It's essentially an Ultimate League start guide going from the campaign with bows all the way through to min-maxing with omniscience. Because I brought out a Reign of Arrows guide, the first, I would say 3 aren't relevant. I would start from farming omniscience. This video here, which I will pin, essentially starts when you've just killed the pinnacle bosses and goes through to getting an omniscience, going through farming strategies, which obviously might change a bit in 320. It also goes through in great detail what you need to look for on your items and how to craft those items. The other video, which again I will link, that I think is definitely worth looking at, is one a bit earlier on that I did, but again it was 319, and again it's around tornado shot, and it was all about gearing up the build. So it's this here, tornado shot gearing up your character, shows how to craft entry level gear by getting cheap fractured items and then using essences, and it's a very, very cheap way to then get your character really, really decent in T16 maps. I'm going to reference this guide because this is the build that I'm going to follow. It's essentially a mapping variant of tornado shot with lots of on-kill charges. Works really well, but it's not designed for bossing. So with that out of the way, I'll jump into the video. Hey all, and welcome back to Fuzzy Dirty Gaming, and a new video going over my plans on transitioning to tornado shot Deadeye from my Reign of Arrows Raider League starter. Now, originally I was trying to build a tornado shot character in Lake of Calandra today to kind of replicate what I wanted to do, transitioning what the gear wanted to be, but it's very difficult to get specific stuff at this stage of the league. What I did was I went through my old videos and I found a version of Tornado Shot, which I've linked in the description below, and looking at it, it looks like a really interesting and fun way to play. I totally forgot I made the build, and that's what I'm going to be transitioning into. I'll link the video in the description. Within that video, there is another link to how to craft the gear. It basically all revolves around getting fractured items. I'm going to go over at the end of this video a few things that you can do to make that process even cheaper. What I thought I would do though was just showcase a character that I've been building in trade to show you what it's going to be like. The character that I've linked the guide for is a pure mapper because it takes lots of on-kill stuff. It can do bosses. I've done invitations, but it's scraped through. It can definitely do Uber, Elder, and Maven, but you'd probably respec out of all the on-kill nodes and then get some more damage or life. But this character I'm showcasing now, which I'll also put a POB in the description for, I have just done Uber, Elder, and Maven, and it was fine. The DPS is nothing to write home about, but it's fairly comfortable. So what I'll do is just quickly showcase a map on this character. If you build the character as per the guide that I'm going to link, you're going to have about 20% more map in DPS than this character. And as you're going to see, this character is comfortable enough. You don't really need any more than this. So we'll go and we'll do a map that's not particularly nice. So let's do this. This is a horrible map. Enfeeble, monster life, chain, loads of extra life as energy shield. So we'll go in and we'll do this just to show you what it's like. If you think, yeah, that build looks cool, I'd really like to go and try and make that build, then go ahead and look at the build guide. The only caveat I will say is when I built the guide, it was quite a few weeks into the league, so it was 5 divines to build. It might be 10, 12 divines to build at league start, but most of the gear you're crafting yourself, so it shouldn't be too bad. So let's go ahead and we'll go and see how it performs in this map. And remember, the guide I've linked, because it's got lots of on-kill stuff, it's got endurances on kill, power charges, and frenzy on kill, you're going to be tankier and you're going to do more damage. So, as always, these energy shield mods cause absolute mega issues with anything that has beast or essence mods, but we've got them down fairly comfortably. Why is he not dead? Oh, he is dead. For some reason, he's not phasing. So we'll go and try and find a boss. He's around here somewhere. I'm never good at finding this person. There's a rogue exile randomly turning up as well. Why can I never find a boss? There he is. So as you can see, the DPS is absolutely fine. We don't run a damage aura, so it's determination and grace, so you're nice and safe. You can't face tank everything, but in maps, as long as you don't get completely overwhelmed, you can stand there and just kill most stuff. This is obviously more monster life in Feeble and life as ES. This will be nasty, but we'll do it anyway. Oh, that was super comfortable, actually. Okay. So this is how you can expect the build to perform if you save up and transition into it from your Rain of Arrows. The reason I'm not league starting this straight away is it is difficult to get going. As a Deadeye, it can be quite squishy. Tornado Shot without a lot of LE damage gear and your Trinity setup all going doesn't feel particularly comfortable. And I'm not a massive fan of Lightning Arrow. I do like it, but I prefer leveling with Rain of Arrows. So we'll just go around and kill a few more enemies, and then I'll portal out and we'll do a bit of discussion. Just about a few things to add to the build that I've put on there. There is no Replica Conqueror's efficiency in the build, so you don't have to worry about that. So that's kind of it. If this looks like something you would be interested in, then I'd recommend going and checking out the guide. What we can also do is do a Veritania. I can't actually run those mods because we get bricked for our elemental stuff. Okay. Let's do this Veritania quickly. I'll just fast forward to the boss. I don't think this is going to be comfortable. Vulnerability, more life, fizzes, lightning, and elemental resistances is not going to be a nice time, but we'll go and do it anyway and see how it gets on. So while we let this boss fight play out, because it goes on for a good minute or two, I want to talk about the content I did on this build last league in the budget state that it's in. It was really comfortable at popping legions, at farming legions in T16 with all of the Atlas passive selected and obviously scarabs as well. I farmed Harvest. It was really, really comfortable. I ended up doing a boss rushing strategy because it's a really quick mapper. It made sense. So I was flying through maps in like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, killing the boss, looting boss maps, and then building up invitations as I go. It can pretty much do any mapping strategy you want. And it is all around keeping your charges up in maps when you kill stuff. That's why I built the character, because I didn't want to do grand spectrums to get charges. I didn't really want to spec into expensive cluster jewels or influence items. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to spec to these nodes, do increased charges, then I basically get 16-second long charges, and I get power and frenzy on kill. And I just had an absolute blast playing with it. I was farming easily 4 to 5 divines an hour, no matter what I chose, because the character is so quick. And then I used that to then transition into an Omniscience version, which is better. It does do more DPS. You can sort of get it as tanky, but it takes a lot of investment. But it is quite a lot of money, so I don't know whether I'm going to go all the way to Omniscience or whether I'm going to use this character to farm and then build another character. I really, really fancy doing a Vile Smite, which I'm probably going to mention over and over again before League start. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing with the character. So as you can see, the boss took ages, as you would expect. But it was 32% more monster life and 48% increased elemental resistances on a character that shouldn't really boss. But you can see how comfortable the build is, and it's all around Trinity, really, because we're shocking and we're chilling. So Veritania was so slow, you couldn't really get hit by any of her attacks because of how much she was chilled. So that's kind of how the build will perform. The build guide that I've linked will probably not quite be as good for single target because it gets a lot of its strength from on kill. But like I said, I did do Uberelder, Maven, and some invitations with it, so it can definitely be done. So let's just talk about a few things on the build itself. If you'd rather play this version, not a problem. I'll leave a POB for it. It's a bit more of a standard build in terms of the tree. But if you bring up the build for the guide that I've linked, this is where it differs. And not many people go here, but for mapping, it works really, really well. We get 8% chance to get a power, frenzy, and endurance on kill with 100% increased duration. So you're keeping all those charges up all the time. We can come here and get some crit and some crit multi against bosses. We can get attack speed and movement speed here. We get some life and recover life on kill. We can come down here and we can get suppression and the grace mastery, which means you don't have to go here. And then with the spell suppression nodes here and here, you can easily cap your spell suppression with just a tiny bit on gear. All you would do is if you wanted to boss, you could respec these and then maybe go up here if you wanted to. But this version should still be fine because you do still benefit a lot from coming up here. You get a dual socket. You obviously get your crit. You get attack and movement speed. And you get life. So it's basically just these 4 nodes, which I think are really good for mapping. If you decided you wanted to Uber to a Maven, you'd just drop those 4 points. Ignore the configs in the POBs because it's very difficult to configure Tornado Shot DPS. So I'm just going to look at the DPS of the skill with my POB configured, and it's 666 on the build guide version. And on the one I've just imported, it's 583. And that's ticking everything the same. So it's mapping config. It's if you can get onslaught, it's ticked. If you can get certain things, it's ticked. But as you can see, it's quite a bit less DPS than the guide that I linked. Either of these versions are going to work for me transitioning. I think I'm going to go for something like this because I purely just want to map. If you wanted it to be more of a hybrid character, maybe follow the POB for the character that I'm showcasing in this video. I was going to bring out a crafting video, but actually the linked video for crafting is exactly the same. Nothing has changed. You're still looking for fractured items and you're still looking to use essences to craft those items. The only thing I will say is to make it cheaper, you don't have to buy the best base for things like a bow, for example. If we go into bows in Craft of Exile wiki, there's a ton of bows here that you can get, and they can all drop in higher maps and they can all drop fractured. Ideally, what we are looking for is a spine bow. Reason being, it comes with 1.4 attacks per second and 6.5% crit. It's the best combination of both. You can get better attack speed or LE damage implicits on bows, but then you lose the crit, and base crit is massively, massively important. What you could do if there isn't a spine bow that works for you, you can use any of the same archetype because all you're doing is losing a bit of physical damage. As long as your item level is 75 or above is what I'd recommend, because then you can roll T2 flat LE. An ivory bow will work just as well. And even though it's unlikely you're going to find them, you could also use a bone bow. These 3 bows are the same archetype. Both got 6.5% crit. Both got 1.4 attacks per second. So when you're searching for fractured items, look for all 3 of those bases. That kind of covers the video. That's really all I wanted to go over, is just confirm what build I'm transitioning into and what build guide I'm following. And it's essentially mine from last league. None of them use a Conqueror's Efficiency, the replica one. So nothing changes on this build. The POBs will be exactly the same. I haven't used any like Calandra rings or anything like that. So the guides are all still completely viable. So they're the ones I'm going to be using to transition to. I'm not necessarily recommending that everyone follow me. This is just the way I want to do my league start. So that's the build I'm going to be going into. Farm a lot of currency and then decide if I want to push it even further and go Omniscience, which again, there's build guides on my channel for. But I haven't decided yet. I have a feeling come the end of the first week, there's going to be a new skill that I desperately want to play. And I already know it's probably going to be Vile Smite. I just need to work out the build for it. And I also want to give another go at my Frostblades Raider. Again, not as a league start though. That's it for this really quick video. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. Take care and see you in the next one.